Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Slowpreneur Season 2. I'm Stephanie, and I'm so happy that you're back here with me to continue our conversations about finding new ways to live and work that honor our humanity and take care of ourselves while also taking care of our clients and customers. If you're new here, this is season 2 of the podcast, and we have a new format. So if you're listening only in audio, just know that you can head over to YouTube and see me on video talking to you throughout this episode. And if you're new to the podcast, you might also want to go back and listen to season 1. We have 14 amazing episodes, including some really fantastic interviews with other slowpreneurs in the industry. I got so much out of that season, so much inspiration, so many ideas, and I was able to work through some of my thoughts around slowpreneurship. And I'm really excited to continue this conversation on this season as well. I've had a break. I've been off since December or so, and that's given me some time to think about slowpreneurship in a different way, connect with some new people. I have some really amazing interviews coming your way this season. So I just wanted to start the season with a conversation about slowpreneurship, what it is, what it means to me, now that I've had some time to really define it for myself and work with clients one-on-one in sessions at an upcoming retreat that I'm going to be doing, really fleshing out my thoughts on slowpreneurship. And I want to share all of that with you so that you can start applying these principles to your own life if this is a concept that resonates for you. So let's start out with the definition of slowpreneurship. And I want to start by saying that I did not coin this phrase. I did actually think of it myself, but then when I Googled it, I realized I was not the first person to have thought of this. In fact, there is a whole website called slowpreneur.com, which was founded by Mario Lurig, and he has his own definition of slowpreneurship that is different a little bit from mine. I'll share his because I think it's useful. He defines a slowpreneur as a person who organizes or operates a business with a patient approach to profits and growth. And I can really get behind that, right? No problems there. I love that. I think that's really great. My definition would be slightly different. I would say a slowpreneur is a person building a business that is sustainable and intentional both inside and out. And by inside and out, I mean inside for the person running the business, and then of course on the outside for the people who are interacting with you and your business. I think it's really important that on both of those levels, the enterprise itself, the results you're delivering, the way you're showing up for your business, that all of that feels sustainable and intentional to you. So I talked on the first season about how slowpreneurship for me is not necessarily about speed, right? It's not about how quickly you're growing or how many customers you have. It's about how it feels for you to run the business and how it feels for your customers to interact with your business. So that's how I define slowpreneurship. There are so many other definitions out there. One of the great joys of the past year of running this podcast has been getting to connect with other people who also resonate with this term. You're going to hear this season from somebody who runs a podcast called Slow is Good and really talks a lot about slowpreneurship, and she found me through that phrase. So I really love this idea that the phrase itself can be something that brings people together and really helps people connect around this new way that we all want to do business. It makes me really excited. I'm so excited to share my approach with you, but just know that there are a lot of other people out there who are also talking about this. So go and find them, use that phrase, Google it, and I'm sure you're going to come across some other really amazing frameworks as well. Speaking of frameworks, in this episode, I want to introduce you to the framework that I have been beginning to define for myself. This is not complete. I'm not saying it's the be-all, end-all way to be a slowpreneur. But when I thought about that definition that I had, right, that idea that we want everything to be sustainable and intentional inside and out, when I thought about that idea, I thought, what are the aspects or the factors that really help you create sustainability for yourself and for your clients? And so far, I've come up with 3. They all start with S because you know we love an alliteration around here. So the 3 factors for me are your strategy, your systems, and your self-care. So let's talk a little bit about each of them. I'm going to give you some examples of how this could show up for you. And I want you to think about, while I'm talking through this, how could you apply these concepts in your own business right now, right? How are you missing maybe some elements of strategy, some elements of systems, or some elements of self-care? I want to start always by saying the caveat that this is not a tool for beating yourself up, right? It's not a tool for self-flagellation or a metric of how you're not measuring up to other businesses, right? I actually think that slowpreneurship is a journey, as corny as that phrase is. It's a journey that we're all on. So I actually like to think of this framework as a little bit more of a diagnostic tool. So if you're currently feeling like you're missing maybe some sustainability in your business or some intentionality in your business, I want you to start by looking at these three factors, maybe even one at a time, and defining some small steps that could get you a little closer to the slowpreneur model in your mind, in your business, etc. So instead of seeing it as something to measure ourselves up against, instead we're seeing it as a source of inspiration or new ideas, right? If I'm feeling like my business isn't sustainable, what might I be missing? And getting curious about what that might be. So let's get into it. Let's start with strategy. Strategy in this case can be defined as any way that you are thinking about your business, how it runs, how it makes money, how it markets itself to others. And strategy is such an important part of business, right? We all know this. This is not news to us, right? It's really important that we're all able to be strategic in the messages that we're sending out, in the offers that we're creating, in the business model that we have. But what I'm saying in terms of slowpreneurship is that you want to be thinking about your strategy, whether it is around business and sales or marketing, as being responsive to you. So what I mean by that is that sometimes we have these pie in the sky fantasies, ideas, paradigms of how business should work. And we think that we need to fit ourselves into those existing paradigms. Right? Everyone right now has a membership program. Everyone right now is selling online courses, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we think that that's just the way that business is done. I think what I'm sharing here is slightly different. It's saying start with yourself, start with how you feel, start with what you enjoy, start with what is your capacity right now in this season of your life, whether that is about your mental health, whether that is about a physical illness or a mental illness that you have, whether that is about having children, having a puppy, having an aging parent, whatever it might be. There are so many factors that influence our capacity in any given moment. So we're not just looking at business strategy in a vacuum. We're looking at business strategy in a context with the rest of our lives. So we're looking at our capacity, we're looking at what we enjoy, and we're also looking at what we're good at. And ideally, we're going to find a sweet spot where all three of those things come together. That is your ideal strategy. The other thing that I think sometimes gets missed when we're talking about ideal business models is the level of audience that you might have in any given moment. So if you currently have a really small audience, you're just starting out, then choosing a model that relies on numbers is probably not going to be financially sustainable for you. And that's an important point too, right? When I'm talking about sustainability, I'm not just talking about your energy, I'm also talking about how long your business itself can be sustained. And that has a lot to do with the money you're bringing in versus the money you're putting out. If your business is not financially sustainable, it's not sustainable for you, period, end of story. Right? That's how we have a business. We make money, we provide value. That's what business is. And so if we're missing that financial piece, we're also missing sustainability in general. So that's why I don't like to recommend anything that's one size fits all for anyone. It really means that we have to look at how big is our audience, how much do we have in terms of a capacity for teaching, learning, growth, delivering value, and also what do we enjoy. So I want you to think about your own business right now, right? So are you trying a model that doesn't actually match up with the audience size that you have? Or are you trying a model that isn't really a great fit for your niche? For example, if you're somebody who's a recipe developer it might not make the most sense for you to have a group coaching program. It might, you know your audience better than I do, but it seems like if you have a pretty engaged audience who want your recipes, maybe they want to buy ebooks, right? Recipe books, cookbooks. Maybe they want guides to how to use the groceries that they have. Maybe they want live workshops or something like that, but they may not want a really intense group program that they move through with another group of people. So really making sure that your audience matches your niche, matches your capacity, and trying to make decisions from that place. This also really goes for our marketing. And I think marketing is a big place where we get stuck because right now, content marketing is everywhere. Everyone's talking about it, how you should be on every platform, Instagram, TikTok, Reels, Snapchat, etc. And we have these ideas of how we should be showing up in order to have a successful business. I think, again, that it's all about taking a step backwards to think about who you are, what you really enjoy, what you're really good at, and what you're trying to sell. Because not all marketing platforms are good for all products, right? We all know that there are certain products that are not going to photograph that well to be on Instagram, right? There are sort of things that work really well on TikTok because you can explain and you can dance and you can point at things. But if you have a much slower process, for example, slowpreneur, I don't think that that's going to come across as well on TikTok. I need longer form versions of marketing like this podcast, like this YouTube video, where I can explain things in more depth because the framework that I'm trying to sell and teach about does not lend itself super well to quick hits like on TikTok. You never know. I might end up there at some point, but for now, this is the kind of marketing I'm doing. It's also the kind of marketing that I have the capacity for right now. These are asynchronous kinds of marketing. I can talk to this camera, I can take my time, I can do several takes to make sure I'm saying what I want to say, and then I can edit it and deliver it to you, and you can watch it on your own time. Because I really want you to have the autonomy to structure your schedule according to what feels best for you, and I want that for myself. And so these ways of marketing my business are what matches my current personal capacity and my current interest level. So I want you to think about for yourself, not only when you're dreaming about your perfect business model or something that's going to feel like a really good fit for you, I also want you to think about it in terms of your marketing. If you're having a really low energy season, don't force yourself to get on Instagram stories every day. Don't force yourself to be on video at all. You can do things like writing. You can do an email newsletter. You can do reels that have nothing to do with your face and just use other people's videos or photos to tell the story and make the points you're trying to make. So make sure that you're matching your energy and your enjoyment to your marketing as well. Our second step in the framework is systems. And if you know me at all, you'll know that I love systems. I'm obsessed. I think systems are so important, and they're often the thing that entrepreneurs are missing when I first meet them. They're using outdated systems, or they're using systems that really rely on manual effort on their part. So it's not really the most efficient system they could be using. I want to give another caveat here, right? Caveats on caveats, caveats for days. It's okay if you don't have an elaborate system. I don't want you to turn off this recording and run to your computer and start implementing 16 different systems at once. That's not what this is for. This is for, as I said before, diagnosing where you might have challenges. So if you're currently feeling like something in your business is not feeling the most sustainable or it's not structured as well as it could be, that's where we start to get curious and think about what systems might support me here. So it's not about looking to the past and feeling bad that you didn't get these things set up earlier. It's about thinking about where you are in this present moment, currently, and deciding what systems would support you. And I also want to be clear here that when I say system, I mean one of two things. I think a lot of people think that when I say system, I mean apps and tools and software and websites. So things like Asana to help you manage your tasks or Canva to help you create graphics. And both of those tools are great, love them both, but that's not the only kind of system that I'm talking about. The other kind of system that we can very easily implement in our businesses is processes, just ways that we do things, ways that we can repeat tasks in our business to make them a little bit more efficient. This could be something like having an FAQ page. That's a form of a system because it helps reduce the amount of communication you're getting. You could have canned emails that you have set up to send out to people, again, to answer their questions more efficiently. So systems can be an app, and I think oftentimes we are missing some apps, but remember that it can also just be honing the way that you do a specific task. I'm going to talk about some of the systems that I think most entrepreneurs are maybe missing a little bit in their business, and I've already mentioned a couple of them, but the first one I would say, especially for service-based business owners, is a scheduler. I can't tell you how many people I have worked with where they're talking about people emailing them constantly, and 99% of the time the questions they're getting are either something that could have been answered in an FAQ page or a guide, or it's about scheduling a meeting. So I think one of the fastest and easiest ways to buy back some more of your time is to set up a scheduler through something like Calendly or Acuity Scheduling so that your clients can book into your calendar on your behalf without you needing to be involved in that process. It really cuts down on the back and forth. So scheduler, definitely up there on my list. A second one would be task management. So I use Notion. In the past, I've used Asana. ClickUp is another one. Todoist is a great one if you're just starting out. And this will help you get things out of your head. It will help you feel less stressed, which is obviously more sustainable for you. And it will help you to prioritize your time based on your energy, which is a huge part of this whole framework, this whole process. We want everything in your business to be matched to the capacity that you have, the energy that you have, what feels good to you, as much as it possibly can be. So having a list that you can look at with a little bit of space and decide, okay, I'm feeling like I actually really want just a tiny little task that I can check off the list. You have that list in front of you. You're not then also using the mental energy that we want to conserve. It's precious to us. We're not then using that mental energy to try to remember what all of our tasks were. It's just right there in front of you. So that's another big one. I think when it comes to client relationships, one that I see people needing and maybe not investing in putting into place is a CRM. So something like Honeybook, something like Dubsado. These are programs that will help be a one-stop shop for your clients. This will be invoices, this will be questionnaires, this will be contracts, this will be proposals. These can really help, especially service-based business owners, to cut down on the number of tools that they're using, right? That we've maybe cobbled together over the years from different sources, and have it be a much more streamlined process that saves not only you, but also your client a lot of time. If you're not ready for a CRM program like that, I think another great option in this category would just be some kind of invoicing software. So Wave is the one that I often recommend because it's pretty easy to get started, it's free. And so Wave will really help with generating invoices that go a lot more quickly than using something like an Excel spreadsheet or Google Sheets to generate your invoices. So that could be one step up for you. But all of this that I'm saying is not necessarily prescriptive, like if you're listening, go and set up those 4 systems. No, I think that this is about getting curious with yourself. What are my major problems? How could I solve those problems? Maybe just getting out a sheet of paper and writing down the top 3 things that annoy you most on a day-to-day basis in your business, and how can you start to solve those, either with a process, so something that happens on the behind the scenes end of your business that you can replicate, or with a tool like some of the ones that I've mentioned here today. And I think that the key to remember with systems is that A, you don't have to start them all at the same time. It can build incrementally. But B, the more that you invest in putting some of these systems into place, the more time and energy that you're going to buy back for yourself that you can then use in other areas of your business. It really is an investment. It feels like maybe counterintuitive to decide to take a step back from your client work, take a step back from your product delivery, and take time out of your business to really work on the business instead of in it. So that brings us to step number 3 in the framework, which is self-care. And the caveat that I have to give here is that In terms of self-care, I am not only talking about bubble baths and painting your nails and getting a latte, although your girl loves baths and lattes and painting my nails. I am talking more about the structural ways that you protect your time and energy and take care of yourself as a human within the context of your business. I think self-care should exist in your personal life too, but I also think that our selves and the way that we feel is so integral to how we run our businesses. And that goes for whether you are, fully behind the scenes of your business, just answering customer service emails, or it goes for the coach who is on the front lines on Instagram talking with her face on stories every single day. Your energy is going to betray you. Your energy does not lie. And I talk about this all the time, talked about this in a recent interview. Energy doesn't lie, people can feel it. And so how you feel makes such a huge difference. The way that you can protect your energy and support yourself, both in the context of your business and outside of it, is a huge factor in how sustainable your business feels. So let me give you some examples of what I consider to be like business self-care, which is maybe a little bit different than personal self-care. So one huge thing here, obviously, would be vacations, right? Do you have a policy? Do you have a practice in your business of taking them, of scheduling them in advance, of planning for them? This was a big thing for me when I first started doing this. I made a goal with myself that I was always going to take off statutory holidays, even though as a business owner, I don't technically have to. I made that decision very early on. Also made the decision that for the most part, I wanted to take off every weekend and every evening. Those were kind of my breaks to start with. And then I started adding in more. Okay, now that I have these frameworks in my business and the world hasn't exploded and we're still here, what else could I do? And now, at the point I'm at now, I have so many boundaries set up from a breaks perspective. So I have an end time to my day that I mostly stick to, and I have never working on the weekends unless I really want to. The thing with all these rules, of course, is you can break them if you want to, if you choose to, but you don't have to at any point. And you have to have the rule in order to break it. So I encourage you to set up the rule, even if you decide some Saturday you actually want to answer emails because it feels more peaceful. At least you know that's a conscious decision and that's not just a reactive decision because you feel too stressed to say no. So now at this point, as I said, I have, the times of the week that I can be on calls. I'm very specific about that. I have weeks of the month where I don't do calls at all. So I can do things like this, content creation, things that require a little bit more out of me energetically. I can do my vacations. They're planned every year in advance for the most part, in terms of what weeks I'm going to take off and maybe not where I'm gonna go, but at least having the time blocked off in my calendar. So breaks, scheduling breaks for yourself, I think is huge. The other piece of this is, of course, scheduling breaks from some of the social media apps that drain us. And I will be the first to admit that I struggle with this. This is not necessarily easy for me. I do recommend the app OneSec. I will link it in the show notes if you want a tool that will support you in staying off social media when you need a bit of a break. But I highly recommend trying to get that under control. I also have a personal Instagram account that I sometimes use instead of my business Instagram account, and they really do feel so different that it feels like I'm getting more of a break. So that's a big one. I would say another big form of business self-care is boundaries. So that goes for mostly communication, but also how you work with people. So super obvious example would be your contracts, making sure that everything is clearly laid out and stipulated from the beginning. Or if you're a product-based business owner, making sure that your terms and conditions, your warranties, all of those things are fully laid out from the beginning so you have some structure around you if you ever need to push back, if you ever have an unreasonable client, you have something to point to. But other forms of boundaries would be things like not feeling like you need to respond to every form of communication that someone might want to send to you. So I know a lot of people who are not into DMs. and they will redirect everyone to email or just have DMs closed entirely. I do a hybrid. I use DMs on Instagram as a way to connect with people, but if there's ever anything really business specific, like we should set up a session or, being on the podcast, I will always redirect to email because it really helps my brain to have those things separated. Another decision that I made really early on was to not publish my phone number and to not give it out to clients unless in very specific cases, like leading up to a retreat when I want people to be able to contact me. But this really ensures that I have a part of my phone and a part of my brain that are not connected to clients. So I really think about, for you, what are some places that your boundaries are maybe slightly lacking, and how can you bolster it? And then the last piece of self-care that I want to talk about today would be things like fun and joy and connection. And I include these in the context of your business because I really believe that one of the biggest challenges in business, out of all of the things that I've just said, is motivation, is feeling connected to your purpose, to your ideas, your inspiration, your creativity. And I think one of the best ways we can do that is by connecting to other people who are like-minded, who see the world the way we do, and who can inspire us with new ideas, new conversations, but also through building in some joy and fun and pleasure into the way that you run a business. I am currently sitting on this new chair that I got, and it was a bit of a splurge, but it has brought me so much pleasure. My back was hurting before, and now having this support literally under me as I work brings some pleasure into it. Another great example is my recent commitment to have desk flowers. So I'm holding up my desk flowers of the week. These are some beautiful rainbow tulips that I bought for myself. These sit on my desk, and I'm really working towards always having them on my desk because I spend so much time here. I spend all my time during the day pretty much at this desk, and I want it to be an inspiring and beautiful place to work. So building in some elements of joy and pleasure, celebrating your wins and your positive opportunities with others. This is something we do in the Profoundery every single Friday. We share our wins of the week so that other people can cheer us on. For me, a big source of joy is using emojis and everything. So whatever that looks like for you, however you can have fun with it, I think it's a really important part of the process and a way that we take care of ourselves. So there you have it. That is my slowpreneur framework as it stands currently. That's what I have so far. I think that it probably will change as I learn and as I grow and as I talk to more slowpreneurs. But for now, those are the tools that are really working for me. And those are the ways that I think that you can set up your business to be one that supports you and feels more intentional. If you have thoughts on this, if you have questions on this, I would love to hear them. Please send them my way. You know how to find me. I will say it in the outro as well. But I really, really love to collect ideas on this because I do think that being a slowpreneur is and can be a point of pride. It can be something that we want to work toward. I think all of our business paradigms that we grew up with, all of the ideas that we're shown, they have to do with hustling and going fast, and there's only one right way to do things. And it can be hard to embrace an identity of doing things in a more intentional and slow way. Right? It can be hard to do that. It feels like it's not the right way. And until we find other people who see things the way that we do, it can kind of be a lonely process. So I think it's in all of our best interests to connect on this, to share on this. And I would love to hear what your ideas are, what has helped you on your slowpreneur journey if you are on one. And please connect in the comments below this video or send me an email. If you're listening to the podcast, I would love to hear from you. But for now, I'm going to leave it at that. That is episode 1 of season 2. That's a wrap. I am so happy to be back. Thank you for being here. I really, really appreciate it more than you could ever know that we do have a small but growing community of people who care about slowpreneurship. And I'm so excited about this season and bringing all of these ideas from other amazing slowpreneurs to your ears. So thank you for being here. I'm Stephanie, and I will talk to you very soon. Thanks so much for listening to Slowpreneur. If you liked this episode, please share it with a friend or reach out and let me know at hello@stephaniepellet.com. I would love to hear from you. As always, you can find show notes for this and all episodes at stephaniepellet.com/slowpreneur. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you soon.